Do you feel that anxiety when you need to watch a YouTube video, or you need to, whatever your choice of anxiety-full consumption is, and you keep on watching it, and inside you're anxious, and the anxiety is building up because you're doing the wrong thing, and fuck. That's the opposite of having a clear mind. How do you go from a panicked type of state like that to having a clear mind? There's not one answer, but there are a number of things that you can do that do huge things for you to bring you closer. So number one, reducing addictive type screens in your life. Reduce your dependence as much as possible on your phone. And the problem is not just scrolling on news feeds, it's also messages. The need to feel like, oh shit, is there a message? Like it's a compulsion. This affects different people differently, but the way it affects me is that my mind is never fully clear. So yeah, get a dumb phone. If you have a smartphone, don't have any internet on it or something, or don't have any messaging apps or any really apps that you feel compelled to, or that you enjoy checking, Okay, that's number one. Step number two, meditation and processing everything that's on your mind. So I see this as basically 2 steps along the way. If you're full of anxious thoughts to the point where you get frustrated doing anything because you if you get frustrated taking time to do anything because everything else that's also worrying you is also still worrying you, and you're worried about the fact that you're not doing all those other things, you're not in a great state to meditate. I don't think you're there yet. So I think step 1 of clearing out your mind is actually not to say don't think. Well, it's an interesting thing. Allow yourself to think somewhat, but not in circles. And actually, a great way to start that is in fact to meditate first. And just say, okay, you need to choose a time where you trust that it's really okay that you do nothing for an hour or whatever it might be. And then you say, okay, during this time, I have planned to do nothing because I know that it can be good for me. And you say, okay, I'm going to try for there to be nothing in my mind. And it's during this time that you will notice what is preventing you from having nothing in your mind. And those things that you're holding on to, that's what you're going to start to be aware of. And those are the anxieties that are filling up your mental bucket that cause you to be unable to do anything because there's so much fucking shit that you're worried about. You're worried about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. And so you can't even do A because in your mind is B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And who knows what the fuck else. And not only are you aware of problems, but you're aware that there are problems that you haven't even fully evaluated. And so you're worried about them and you don't even know how much of a problem they are because you haven't fully processed them yet. But you know that you feel like you should process them. You feel like you're worried about that. I feel like this phenomenon is a result of not having enough time where we're just doing absolutely nothing in our lives. Like, we evolved in a time period when, like, hunter-gatherers, they had their gathering berry time, and they had their they had a lot of free time for the mind. If you're walking a long distance, you have a lot of free time for the mind. If you're gathering berries, it's like doing a mindless task where you can think. And sometimes you're just sitting there. You don't have anything to do or say. And this is important processing time for the things that are in the background of your mind. Okay, I've given a little bit of context now. Let's get back to the original point. The original point was, before really meditating and 100% getting everything off of your mind, the first step is to actually process the things that are waiting. All the things that you got anxious about, but you couldn't think about in that moment. And this could be something small like, oh shit, I forgot to respond to this person, and now they're gonna get angry at me or feel bad or whatever. It could be little to-dos that you know were important, and then you were gonna forget. But they can also be bigger picture things. They can be, shit, I don't know how I feel about that girl, and she likes me, so I think I should really know, but I don't. Like, I don't know how to deal with this situation. And they can be even bigger picture things like, what am I doing with my life? What do I want? What's the trajectory? What's a trajectory that what are some things that I would be happy to do and proud of doing, and what are my options, and what should I choose? And you can come up with answers to that on your own. But you have to delve into those questions and come up with your own answers. And it takes time and thought and being good to yourself. So step one of this clearing your mind thing, besides the meditation itself, is trying to understand what's in your mind. And attempting to address those things and finding that bucket which might be full of all these pending anxieties, things that you don't feel that you've addressed properly, and addressing each one. And sometimes it's also going to give you the opportunity to consciously reject them and say, look, I have A, B, C, D, and E here. And even though I know that B is important, and I feel that I'm concerned about B, I don't care about B. Because given that I have A, C, D, E, it wouldn't be reasonable for me to give any energy to B at the moment. And letting go and not needing to feel guilty about letting something go that you know is important, but is just not appropriate for the time because of the other things that are going on. Right. So everything kind of comes together in terms of the solutions to clearing your mind. Everything kind of comes together at the same time. The next thing, so what I was just trying to elucidate how to do is the step where you process the things that are actually in your mind. And I've just been doing this just now, and I feel wonderful. And I feel more and more that I'm able to even look at what my anxieties are, because I can handle knowing what's on the table. Whereas before, I couldn't look at the table because it was emotionally difficult to bear. It was panic inducing. And I'm still only in the process of cleaning the table. Speaking of which, actually cleaning the house and doing kind of mindless tasks, washing the dishes, folding the laundry, cleaning the table is a great way to get into this mindset where you can address stresses and plan and organize them. And that's probably all that and you should meditate every day. But that meditation doesn't have to be this very strict, eyes closed, sitting super straight up on a very uncomfortable position. You don't have to get angry at yourself if you start thinking, no. You do try to clear your mind when you don't feel that your mind is being productive. But when you do feel like your mind is being productive, delve into it, address it, and then once you feel like you've exhausted it somewhat, then you can return to the meditation. So that's the type actually you can say you can start with meditation, but that's the type of meditation that I think is like the outer layer of the onion that you need to do before you can really expect to really think nothing, and before it would even be useful for you to think nothing. Because you sort of need to have addressed your pending concerns first. Now, the next thing that I think has to come in conjunction with the meditation and is kind of symbiotic with the meditation is sleep schedule. For me, this is a problem. I was sleeping really late. Like at some point I was going to sleep at 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Now I have a sleep schedule that is consistent enough and early enough, at least for now. It was my first goalpost and I may set it earlier eventually. That I'm still getting a lot of sleep, which is another element of this. Getting a lot of sleep, but also being somewhat consistent with it. So the successful schedule that's working for me right now, which I'm fortunate to have the freedom to be able to choose, is on Monday, Tuesday, I set my alarm for 10:30. On Thursday, Friday, I set my alarm for 10:30. But on Wednesday, I can sleep in. So you kind of have to work. I think what I've been relatively successful in doing it, and I have reset my sleep schedule. It was very bad before. The way that I did it was to work on both the nighttime and the morning time simultaneously. So I set myself a time when I was stopping technology no matter what. And I know that I won't be able to sleep necessarily because it's very hard for me to control when I sleep. But I would stop any screens I said sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. I'm going to stop all my screens. And then at that point, I don't know, I read. Reading is a great way to do it. I meditate and I walk around the house like I'm currently doing, and I just think and try to understand. Sometimes I call people. Debatable whether that should be allowed, but you have to kind of customize it to what you feel capable of, and not judge yourself. You gotta just say, hey, look, I'm in this situation. If I can make a step, that's great. Okay, so the next thing was sleep schedule. Right, so I would turn off all screens sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. Usually it ended up being around 1, and sometimes it was like 1:15 or something, and then meditate and do my shit. Plan my next day a bit. Inevitably, that's what ended up happening at night, which was great because I knew what to wake up to. Okay, the next element is nutrition. I started making this healthy soup that I eat every morning now. I'm the soup guy. I always eat soup because it's easy to digest, it's full of nutrition, and just don't eat that shitty soup that has way too much salt in it from the supermarket. Unfortunately, it's harder to find healthy soups than it is to find unhealthy soups. You have to really purposefully look for them. But yeah, soup and egg, I eat it every morning. So nutrition is another factor that makes a big difference, very big difference. So those are basically my tips. And I think that once you do that, you're very, very well on your way. But there are other elements that are going to affect it. Like, are you in a very chaotic situation in your life that you're able to make a change about? Like, I was living in New York City with my family, and the stress between the city itself being so fucking never-endingly eventful in terms of random shit going on in the street, and the stress of my parents negative emotional situation with each other and weird avoidance type of behaviors, and that stuff was very difficult to balance with. Another thing that was difficult was actually being able to sleep. So recently, and this may be very helpful to somebody, is recently I got these wax earplugs. They're very effective, much more effective than those kind of silicone things that you plug into your ear that you kind of twist in. These you just cover the hole, and it really does a great job. And I do not hear stuff. Like, it's very faint. So I'm going back to New York soon, and I'm hoping that I will be able to sleep well in my room because of these things. Okay. What else can I say? If you're doing those things, you're doing great. You're really doing well. But everything else, I think, kind of just comes naturally from it. Like, once you become more aware of your thoughts, you're going to be more able to make autonomous decisions. You're going to be more able to say, wait, I understand that I'm not going to this party because I want to. I'm doing it because I feel pressure, but actually my health is also a priority. And so I can choose to say, sorry, man, I'm not going, maybe next time. You're a cool dude, but I don't want to. That type of thing comes with the type of self-awareness and clarity that you get from meditation. So that really does everything. Thanks, guys.